Today I'm going over the entire Santa Claus timeline. Because let's be honest, the Santa Claus franchise is a full Christmas universe now. We've got 3 movies, 2 seasons of a series on Disney+, alternate timelines, multiple Santas, and fans are still asking questions. So today I'm breaking down the entire Santa Claus timeline in story order, not release order, and answering the biggest questions fans still have. So let's get into it. Before Scott Calvin was even in the picture, Santa wasn't one person. He was a lineup of magical Santas going all the way back to St. Nicholas. These early Santas aren't human. They are spirit-based, magical guardians powered by kids' belief. Think the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy. They were kind of similar to those. How they aren't human. This is why the Hall of Snow Globes exist. Every Santa gets a snow globe that holds their legacy. Think of like the Santa version of the Hall of Presidents. Question number 1. Was Scott Calvin the first human Santa? Yes, he's the first full human chosen by the magic. Previous Santas were magical beings, not regular guys. We learn in the show that Santa even visited young Scott and saw his kindness, which explains why Scott was chosen. But as an adult, he lost belief and forgot all of that happened. In Santa Claus 1, Scott scares Santa off the roof. This was all planned, revealed in the series that Santa didn't get scared or fell off the roof because he scared him, but he planned for him to fake his death. Santa phases out, but the suit stays behind. And like I said, no, Scott Calvin didn't kill Santa. The magical Santa just retired and phased out, and then the magic chose Scott to be the first human Santa. Scott puts on the suit and boom, Santa Claus activates. He becomes the 17th Santa. He gains the weight, grows a beard, and senses kids' wishes. Charlie believing is the reason Scott finally accepts who he really is. Laura and Neil eventually believe too, after much hesitation. And Scott officially becomes the new Santa. When Scott gets arrested, the elves break him out using Christmas magic. No real-world rules apply at the North Pole. In Santa Claus 2, a new rule drops. Santa must get married or he loses his magic. Scott starts desantifying. Curse creates a toy Santa as a backup, so Scott can leave and find a wife. But this toy Santa turns into a dictator and takes over the North Pole and tries to give every kid coal. Scott falls for Carol Newman, tells her the truth, and she believes after much hesitation. They get married, she becomes Mrs. Claus. Now another question, was there a Mrs. Claus before Carol? Past Santas were magical beings, not humans. Carol is the first human Mrs. Claus. So I'm not really sure if there were Mrs. Clauses before her, but she's definitely the first human Mrs. Claus. In Santa Claus 3, Jack Frost tricks Scott into triggering the escape clause. Both are sent back to 1994. This creates the darkest timeline in the franchise. Jack becomes Santa, the North Pole becomes a theme park, Charlie becomes angry and rebellious, Laura and Neil get a divorce, Scott becomes a lonely corporate guy, and kids pay to be on the nice list. Scott fixes everything by stopping Jack from stealing the suit. Carol announces that she's pregnant at the end of the film, and Buddy Calvin Claus is born. Question, where is Bernard? In the Disney Plus series, it is revealed that he left the North Pole to become mortal and fell in love with a human. And he only returns when things get real serious. The elves, how do they work? The elves are ageless, not children. They don't grow up physically. They grow in skill and rank. Bernard was the head elf for centuries. Curse got promoted in the second movie. Betty is the chief of staff in the series. They stay youthful because the North Pole freezes their aging. The Santa Clauses, Season 1. It's now almost 30 years later. Scott is older, tired, and feels like he's missing his kids' lives. Charlie is all grown up with 2 kids of his own. Scott and Carol have Buddy and Sandra. This leads to the reveal of the success clause. Santa can retire by naming a successor. Scott picks Simon. Bad idea. Simon mixes magic plus Amazon-style tech, destroying the meaning of Christmas. Elves disappear, magic dies, the North Pole becomes a delivery empire. Scott returns, defeats Simon, and becomes Santa again. But this time, he brings his whole family into the mission by delivering presents. The Santa Clauses Season 2. Season 2 adds major lore. The Mad Santa. In the 1300s, a past Santa named Magnus Antist became too strict and harsh. The elves froze him because he threatened Christmas itself. He returns in Season 2 and tries to reclaim his title. This shows, yes, Santas can be good and bad. Scott thinks Buddy might become Santa one day. Season 2 focuses heavily on Buddy's training, like learning how to fly the sleigh, learning the rules, and understanding the responsibility. We also get a real insight into Carol and how this magic life really affected her, her struggles, and how becoming Mrs. Claus shaped her identity and why she always doubts herself. Who will be the next Santa? Season 2 hints Sarah has magic abilities. Buddy finally shows some potential, and together they might be the future Santa Claus. But the timeline ends with one fact. Scott is still Santa. The torch hasn't passed officially yet. And that's the full Santa Claus timeline. Every movie, every season, and every major rule, and every confusing detail explained in order. I really hope that they make more seasons or more movies. They haven't announced anything officially, but they also haven't officially ended that series. So we'll see what they do. If you want a part 2 diving into the hidden lore or the crazy fan theories, comment down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more holiday videos all season long.